my wife is somebody that I didn't know I needed. I didn't even know I needed a wife.
Now you preaching.
I didn't even know I needed a wife, right? And so where God has me, and I'm glad He took me on that journey, but He helped me to, uncircumcise my eyes to see the value of a woman.
Absolutely.
Right, when I didn't used to see it that way. So I'm very thankful that He has uncircumcised my eyes. And so I believe it's super duper important to constantly communicate the vision to your significant other. And that allows them to buy into the vision and to also support the mission, right? Because if I don't know where we're going, how can I help you? If you don't tell me what you're thinking, what your strategy is, what the next step is, what's the plan for the family, then how do I know how I fit into your vision, right? Because as men, right, the women have a very significant role, but we have a significant role of leading this family. And so as a leader, I need to be a phenomenal leader to let my wife, my co-pilot, understand where we're going. What's up, bro?
All right.
Yes, sir. Come on in.
Look at this place.
Yeah, I know it don't look like much right now.
No, it looks good, man.
Yeah, it will look good when it's done, that's for sure.
Absolutely.
Hey, what's up, y'all? Darius Barrett, Managing Principal of Revere Development, and our missions right now is to identify opportunities in the marketplace to provide a great return for our partners, our investors, and also the company as well. Because our vision is to create legacy, not just for ourselves, but our families and our partners. But this property that we're in right now is a 4-bedroom, 1 full bathroom. I'm being specific. 1 full bathroom, 2 half bathrooms, approximately 1,800 square feet. The after repair value on this property, conservatively, right, is $300,000 with a goal to exceed that, right? And so when you're underwriting all transactions, right, we never want to underwrite to the top of the market because we understand that some things shift, right? If I underwrite to the top of the market and I don't get that, but everything in like my construction budget aligned to the top of the market, my purchase price aligned to the top of the market, then that's risk for me to, sell this property below market, which, that could eat into my profits.
When we talk renovation, I'm in here and obviously the bones in this property are solid.
Yeah.
I'm looking around and cosmetically it looks like, you could change the carpet or, maybe do hardwood.
For sure.
Wallpaper off, but
For
what
sure.
extent are you rehabbing properties and projects like this?
This is more of a cosmetic renovation,
Okay.
right? This and let's define cosmetic. Cosmetic is more the major things that get done in cosmetic renovations is kitchens, bathroom, floors, and paint, right? These are projects that you can get in and out of in 3 months, get it back on the market, turn and get a great return on your investment. Now, the major renovation projects, which I've done, right? And there's a lot more risk to those projects and it's a heavier lift, but a major renovation project is when you completely gut something. You gut it down to the bones and you replace everything from drywall to electrical to plumbing. We may need to do some minor plumbing because there will be new fixtures and finishes that need to be updated.
Okay.
But for the most part, right, we're just giving this thing a new facelift.
Nice. So I see X's and I see red spray paint.
Yeah.
Is this a horror movie set or what's going on?
So
tell me about that.
So this is something that I learned, being in real estate, right? Proper planning is way more important than actually doing a thing.
Absolutely.
Because you're gonna get in the process of doing a thing, and then you're gonna have to start figuring out what the next steps are. And sometimes if you just start doing without having a proper plan, you're gonna have to do double work because there's some things you shouldn't have did. And so we went through this property, and as we go tour the property, you'll see X's all over, things that are, and this is for our demolition contractor. We're doing selective demo. We're not demoing everything in this house. We're doing selective demo, and these X's help guide the contractor to know what to do when they get here, right? We already gonna have a contract in place, and we gonna already have a conversation that helps them understand the vision of the things I need to do. But what happens when I'm not here? Because I won't be at the property 24/7 watching these guys, but they will. And what happens when they're thinking about, should this be demo or should this not be demo? I eliminate that factor by putting an X on everything that will be demoed out. And so when that contractor has amnesia, as we know they often do, right?
Pretty often.
He gonna call me and I'm gonna say, is there X on it? And I'm gonna say, yes, that's a demo wall, or that's a demo floor, or that's a demo bathroom.
Talk to me about the after repair value being $300K in the city of Detroit. And we're not talking downtown, midtown, West Village.
Yep.
How is it possible, and help the people who aren't from the city understand a $300,000 value when homes at one point were going for $1,000, $2,000 via the land bank? How could you get $300K out of this property?
Yesterday's price is not today's price.
Absolutely.
Right? I understand the perspective and the sentiment people have on what the city once was. Right? I'm paraphrasing that for a specific reason. It's no longer, the story of Detroit. The story of Detroit has been completely changed, right? We're changing the dynamics, we're changing the demographics, we're changing the entire outlay and layout of Detroit because there's a ton of value here, right? And I think people are starting to see the value. There are so many beautiful homes in Detroit that you don't commonly see across the nation, right? We have a beautiful housing stock. It's just old and outdated, right? So when you come in and create this value that most people can't get in these suburban neighborhoods, that they want that old historical charm, that's how you be able to get those $300,000 price points, right? You come in and create value. And so we create value by putting dollars into the property, by renovating it, by updating it, by making it look beautiful and aesthetically pleasing to a new buyer, because then they have a desire to move in it and buy it for themselves. And so I'm not the person that's driving prices. It's demand. It's buyers. It's people that actually want to live in the city, actually want to live in these brick homes, actually want to raise a family here. And so I give the shout out to the people that's actually buying these homes and moving into these neighborhoods.
From my understanding, this is a project you just recently purchased after flipping your past projects. So talk to me a little bit about that.
Yep. So, right, the name of the game is to keep the ball moving, right? So when we get deals done, we actually want to constantly keep allocating capital to new investments so that we can keep getting a return on our investments. And so I finished a fix and flip out in Southfield, knocked it out the park. It was a home run in regards to profitability. And I was in the midst of completing the project because we already was working on it in construction. I'm constantly looking for deals. I'm constantly doing due diligence. I'm constantly searching for the next deal because I understand at one point in time that project will be done and then I need to do something next.
Absolutely.
And so probably halfway through the construction of that project, probably at the 3-month mark, we found this transaction, got it under contract. It was a probate deal, so most probate deals, they take a little bit longer to close. It took 90 days after we got it under contract to close it, which was perfect timing for us. I'm always impressed how God works.
Amen to that.
I couldn't have orchestrated that no better. We literally closed, we sold a property, and 3 days later, bought this property.
Wow.
Yeah.
So let's back up a little bit. So probate. I don't think a lot of people, we hear that statement, and we know that there are a number of houses that kind of go through this process.
Yep.
But kind of double click on that folder a little bit.
So this is what I understand about probate, right? There is a death in the family, and the person that died owned assets, but he didn't have a will or trust in place that gave people to be the beneficiary of his death. And so now things go to the state, and the state have to settle that person's estate by selling assets. And so, it was fortunate for me, and I understand. And sometimes, right, when you go through probate, from what I understand, that the family can actually keep the property. They can keep the property, they can fix it, they can keep it in the family. But most families, right, when you pass down assets, right, we think that's the real wealth. Right. The real wealth is the knowledge. You could pass down assets all the time, but people don't know what to do with them. So what they do, they sell it. And that's what they did with this property. I think this was a phenomenal project. You know, somebody that had the level of wisdom and insight could have easily, you know, kept this project in a family or renovated it themselves.
One thing that's evident is you've done this before, right?
Yeah.
Multiple times, right? You know, via your YouTube channel, via your social media, you share a lot of your projects. But talk to me a little bit about how you first got into real estate and what kept you going. Because in a lot of scenarios, or at least in my example or my scenario, my first project was a dud.
Define dud.
I broke even.
Okay. That's better than losing.
But that's better than losing. But, you know, if you calculate the amount of hours I put into the project,
it felt like a loss. Understood.
But I kept going. Right?
Yep.
And so I'm interested in how you got into real estate to begin with.
Yep.
And I also am interested in knowing not every project is a win, at least in a lot of scenarios. So have you had any losses throughout your journey in real estate?
Yes. If you haven't took any losses, then you're not actually battle tested right now. And anybody that want to be successful in this game, you need to be battle tested, right? Because the real estate is an emotional roller coaster. You're going to have some highs and you're going to have some lows, right? So you got to be able to weather the storm and go on that roller coaster. And that's what I mean by battle tested. If you have, you know, if you get on that roller coaster and you get to a low point and you quit, that means you don't have the wherewithal, the ability to withstand some of the things that most people will experience in real estate. Because you're going to have some challenges. You're going to have some problems. You're going to have some headaches. Some people going to get on your nerves. You're going to be, like, I can go down the list.
Absolutely.
You're going to be ready to quit, right? But I'm battle tested because I took some losses and I took them on a chin. But guess what? I got knocked down and I got right back up. And so my first deal, not my first deal, but my first fix and flip.
Okay.
Right? I thought I've had some success by buying property, a rental property, cash on them, making some money. And here I am thinking that I knew it all because I had some success, right? I bought some stuff. I made some money on it. But I've never actually done a real fix and flip project and renovate the project. And my first project was kind of like a major project. It was a gut renovation.
Okay.
And I took it on. And, you know, I finished it and I was $70,000 out of pocket in this project, which that's somebody's annual salary. Yeah. I'm $70,000 out of the project. And in my mind, right, I got the project done, but this is where I went wrong at. And this is where many people go wrong at and quit because I bought the property wrong. I purchased wrong. I bought the property too high. I bought it in the wrong neighborhood. My due diligence was off because my assumptions was off because my fundamentals was off. I didn't know how to actually do fix and flip properties at the time because I didn't have the specialized education and knowledge to do so. And so here I am thinking that the after repair value was $125,000. I thought it I'm like, okay, I'm in a 70. You know what? I'm a sell it for 125. I'll make X. We good to go.
Absolutely.
Didn't happen. Right?
What was the reality on that one?
The reality was that I ended up selling it for $60,000.
Wow.
So I lost
70 into it.
Yep.
Sold it for 60.
Yep.
Okay.
So I lost $10,000 on that deal. Right? And you know, could I kept it? Could I have rented it? Can I have cash flowed it? All of that, right? There's multiple ways to actually, you know, be able to make your money on these transactions. But for me in that deal, I understood where I went wrong. And I understood what wasn't going to happen again. So from that day on, I've been profitable ever since. I literally took that $60,000, invested it into another deal and made $27,000. Nice. The next deal I made $50,000. Nice. And you know, thank God my last couple of deals, right, we've been north of, you know, 5 figures every transaction. And that's because I took that L, I learned a lesson, I got education, and I applied it, and I've been running ever since.
You thank God a lot. And so
yeah.
I do want to double click on that photo.
Okay.
How important is faith in your overall mission, your strategy when it comes to real estate?
Okay, that's a phenomenal question. Faith is everything for me. It is who I am. It is what I do. In everything that I do, I stand on faith. I put God at the center of everything that I do, and I'm God-led in all of my decisions, right? I give I give all my glory to God. You know, all of the things I think I'm good at because of my own, me going to learn something. That's because God gave me the path to go learn it, or God gave me the ability to learn something. So for me, without faith, none of this will happen, right? I do things not knowing. I do things with uncertainty. I don't know what the finish line looks like all the time, but I know what I was prompted to do. And I'm going to go do that anyway, knowing that if God told me to go do this, I'm going to go do it. If God told me to buy that house, then I'm going to go do it. If God tell me to go sell the house that I live in, my primary house, because he want me to reposition, my finances, to liquidate, to be more financially, to be a better steward over my finances, because he's taking me on to a new journey, a new path in my life, then I'm going to go do that. Absolutely. Because I know, obedience is better than anything. And for me, all of the stuff that I've gotten, these worldly treasures, the amount of money I made, I'm thankful for it. But that ain't what I'm doing it for, right? I'm doing it to glorify his name. I'm doing it to build legacy for my family. And that's where those are the two priorities in my life.
You mentioned construction budget.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't necessarily understand to what extent your experience is in the real estate game.
Okay.
So you do come across a number of budgets. You
Yep.
understand numbers.
Yep.
But when it comes to single family, because you also work on the commercial side as well.
Yep.
But when it comes to single family, it's really hard to get what I call a starting five of GCs and subs.
Yep.
That can consistently come in for you to carry over to your next project.
Yep.
Talk to us a little bit about that experience, that process, your current team, your Rolodex of subs that you work with.
Got you. Let's walk in the kitchen and talk about it. Contractors are the Achilles heel to this business. What do I mean? I mean that without contractors, there's no way you can be profitable. There's no way you can make money. That's where the bottleneck stops. And so, we're in a relationship business. You need to be able to have strong relationships with individuals that are experts in whatever field they're in order to be able to get these jobs done. Yes, it is challenging, having a Rolodex of contractors that are consistent, that do quality work, and that don't charge you a large amount of money, right? That's the three things most individuals are trying to focus on, quality, money, and time, right? And so what you have to do is really build strong relationships. And then you got to create win-win scenarios. And a lot of that happens through having conversation and dialogue, right? I'm not the type of guy that's just going to put something in front of you and say, give me a bid and that's it. No, we're going to talk. I'm going to get to know you. I'm going to build some rapport. I'm going to ask you what you think. And then you're going to give me a number and I'm going to tell you, hey, this is my number. And there will be a discrepancy. And then we're going to figure out how to make a win-win scenario for both of us. What do we got to do to get to this price so that this deal can be profitable? Because if I don't eat, you don't eat. And if you don't eat, I don't eat. Right? So I'm always thinking about, what number do you got to get in order for this deal to make sense for you? Because I can't just accept any bid because that's the number you came up with. We got to talk about how did you get to that number? And so what I've been able to do over the last couple of years is just build really good relationships. Get to know people. Understand what their vision for their lives is. And then when you start to insert yourself into their lives and understand how you can add value to them and you can get them job after job after job, they'll believe in you and they'll buy into your vision knowing that it also benefits me as well. So I'm always thinking like that, right? Money is not the decision making for me, right? Yeah, it is a factor, but I'm always thinking about like how do we align, our visions for our lives so that we can move fast together. Absolutely. Because I got guys on this project that they come in, they got the lockbox. I'm calling them on the phone. They know the strategy, they know the game plan. I'm doing other things, right? And they understand what Darius need and what Darius, what the play is. So I don't got to babysit them. Right. But the people that you will have to kiss a couple frogs. But when you find the good people, you just hold on to them and you treat them well and you treat them fair, right? It gotta be a mutually beneficial relationship for two people to constantly want to work together. The moment you get greedy, it's over. The moment they get greedy, it's over, right? So it's constantly a tug of like, okay, yes on this price for this work, but no on this price because we gotta balance it out, right? But that's how you really get good contractors, right? You focus on the relationship building of it because business, I know we want to separate the personal from business, but don't. Business is personal. You do got to get to know people. You do got to like people. You do got to want to work with these individuals and they got to want to work with you. The second thing is cost, right? Most people lose deals because they're trying to get all of their ducks in a row and get every contractor in there to go look at the property to get an accurate cost of construction because you don't know how to assess the renovation costs. And so that's because you haven't ran enough reps. When you run enough reps, you can walk through a house and eyeball $40,000. Give or take $5,000. Right? I'm gonna add the, you know what, it's a $45,000 rehab. And then you're gonna get so good at eyeballing that then you're gonna get better at then figuring out how to reduce the eyeball. Like, okay, my budget $45,000. Now how can I shave off some costs? You know, how can we go in here and value engineer that budget to optimize it to figure out where we can reduce that $45,000 to $38,000. Right? But the 45 work. Right? We know the 45 work all day. But you know what? If I can get this cost down to 38, I just made $7,000. These are good questions, by the way, bro.
Since we're in the kitchen,
yeah,
talk to us a little bit about what you plan on doing here, because this is I'm really a cheapskate when it comes to rehab.
Okay.
I see these cabinets and I say, man, these are wood cabinets.
How do I keep these cabinets?
How do you keep these cabinets, right?
Gotcha.
But obviously, it also makes it a little simpler to just demo it all out and start from scratch. Right?
Gotcha.
Talk to me a little bit about the strategy when it comes to this kitchen.
Every renovation strategy starts with data. Not how I feel, not what I think. Right? I can feel one way, I can think one way, based on how I'm feeling that day. And so we use empirical data that will give us and garner us the after repair value that we want. And so I've already highlighted that our goal is to be somewhere in the $300,000 for this project. So I need to renovate this project to a comparable that sold for $300,000 because that's essentially what the buyers like. That's what the market likes. All right. I'm not here to, recreate the wheel. I'm gonna roll the same wheel like they've been rolling every time.
Absolutely.
Because guess what? It works. Right? I don't need to get too fancy. I don't need to get overzealous. I don't need to try this new fancy style that only one buyer gonna like, right? I need to do what the market likes, and I need to be simplistic with it, and I also need to make sure it's aesthetically pleasing. And so, right, this kitchen worked at one point in time, but it don't work today. And so, our envisions for $300,000, the things that mostly sell at the $300,000 mark is the kitchens and the bathrooms. You got to have a $300,000 kitchen, right? Because most people, when they walk the house, the person that's buying the home is the wife.
Absolutely.
And the most of the time, in most traditional homes, right? I'm not gonna get into these gender roles because men can cook too, right?
True that.
But let's just say, for example, if the wife, if this is her sanctuary and this is where she's gonna spend most of her time at, then she gotta love it.
Absolutely.
And so I'm thinking about the data and I'm thinking about the qualitative feel and data of what the wife or the person that will be in the kitchen cooking.
Okay.
And so it's a decent sized kitchen, but it's not a $300,000 kitchen.
I would have to agree.
Right?
Yeah.
And so we need to give it a facelift.
Absolutely.
And so tile gotta go. Cabinets gotta go. We need to demo this all out, demo this wall, make the kitchen grander and more open so that now you have this space that's more interactive, right? If you have kids, if you have family over, you can socialize and entertain people. And so we're gonna knock out not only this wall, but the wall over there as well too. So everything will flow. Everything will flow. The kitchen will flow into the dining room. The living room gonna flow into the kitchen. That's how we gonna have it. And so we're gonna do new countertops, new granite countertops, new cabinets, new appliances, right? We're gonna figure out how to create this. We're gonna tie the backsplash, but we're gonna try to figure out how to create these things that visually pop when people walk into a home. For example, I did a project not too long ago where we had a range over the stove and we tiled behind the range. And so when you walked into the kitchen, it made it look super grand, right? And so I'm always thinking about the little things that will be appeasing to a person's eye when they walk in the home.
Absolutely.
Because I'm a believer, right? They need to want to buy the house when they first walk up to it, right? So that means the outside got to look good. But when they walk in it, they need to be sold. They need to walk in and say, "This is it.
That's it."
Put the offer in." And so we're gonna make this kitchen look dope. New floors, new appliances, new cabinets, new countertops. Gonna give it a whole new facelift.
From a developer standpoint, I know you have a lot of things and projects in motion.
Yep.
One of the things that you could save money on is, let's say, you come in to do your own demolition.
Yes.
Is that something that you are willing to do? Or are you a person that says, you know what, my time is more valuable, I'd rather pay for that to be done as opposed to doing it myself?
You see me smiling hard, right? Because at one point in my life, I've done that, right? And I think most of us have done that, right? Because you figure, this is an opportunity to save costs because I can't get a fair budget on doing something I know that's very inexpensive, right? And I think that's really why people make that decision, because the number that you was given for the cost, you're like, no way it cost me 10 grand to do that work, maybe 4, right? So you just say, you know what, I'll do it. I'll get me and a few of my guys to come in here and just do this simple work. Now, I ain't saying no plumbing, electrical, just demo. So yeah, I have done demo, but where I'm at now, I factor that into the equation because where I'm at now, my time is more important. But at the time when I first started, experience was more important. I needed the insight. I needed to be at the deals to know what was going on, to know who was working on what, to understand how the things that I can't see work, so I can hold people accountable. Now, I don't need to, now I know how to hold people accountable because I got the experience. So now my time is more important. Now I can literally walk the property and say, that's not right. Because I know what right looks like because I put in the work and I got the experience and I got the insight to know what right looks like.
I was about to put it down and my developer. I said, ain't something good.
I recalibrate. Oh no, am I upside down? Give me 1 second. Oh, there we go. Let's recalibrate.
It like just died.
It died?
So one thing I do want to point out is,
Yeah.
One thing that I respect about you is anytime I talk to you,
Yeah.
you talk about your lady.
Oh, for sure.
You talk about this young lady that
for sure
is kind of behind the scenes. If you can see everybody,
wifey, she's holding it down.
She's holding it down.
Check her out.
So I really want to make sure that we highlight the importance of partnership and union. And so talk to me a little bit about, how important it is to have her here and how you fold her into the narrative and the mission. And as we can see, like, she's one of your biggest supporters, I can tell.
Man.
But, kind of dig deep.
It's that smile that get me every time, right? And so my wife is somebody that I didn't know I needed. I didn't even know I needed a wife.
Now you preaching.
I didn't even know I needed a wife, right? And so where God has me, and I'm glad He took me on that journey, but He helped me to, uncircumcise my eyes to see the value of a woman.
Absolutely.
Right, when I didn't used to see it that way. So I'm very thankful that He has uncircumcised my eyes. And so I believe it's super duper important to constantly communicate the vision, to your significant other. And that allows them to buy into the vision and to also support the mission, right? Because if I don't know where we're going, how can I help you? If you don't tell me what you're thinking, what your strategy is, what the next step is, what's the plan for the family, then how do I know how I fit into your vision, right? Because as men, right, the women have a very significant role, but we have a significant role of leading this family. And so as a leader, I need to be a phenomenal leader to let my wife, my co-pilot, understand where we going. Because if not, she don't know how to support me, which I think that if anybody, is looking to be married, I say this all the time, is that just because you're a great leader in whatever you do, that will not make you a great husband. Right? There are some things that we must learn. There are some things that we must unlearn, right? And because you think that, leading a company is similar to leading a wife or leading a family. And it's absolutely contrary, right? So I want to bust that myth for people that think that, I'm a great leader. I'm leading this company, or I'm doing X, Y, and Z in the community. Got it. You're doing great, bro. But understand that your wife and your significant other, or to the women, they need specifically to the men, they need something different, right? You got to be more patient. You got to be more understanding. You got to be more empathetic. You're going to have to tap into skills that you've never had to use in whatever leadership, space you in right now. And I want men to know that is okay. And it's going to make you a better version of you. Because these are things that you didn't know you needed, but it also makes you a better leader. So don't get frustrated, when you she don't get it, right? Or when things are not going like you see it. Things are not going how you see it because you got to shift. You got to change. You got to be a better leader, right? The accountability falls on us to get our wives on board with the things that we believe in and the vision for this family. Because ultimately, they're buying into us. They're banking on if that's the vision, you got to be able to communicate it effectively enough so that they understand it. Because we understand that the way men communicate is different than the way women communicate. And if that's a gem alone. That's one thing I want people to take away. You got to be mindful that your wife has a different communication style, and I am. Which, when I first got married, I wasn't though. This is something I constantly fell short on, and then I had to do an internal assessment of myself and ask myself where I'm falling short at. Because I'm thinking, it's her. Why she can't get it? But no, why can't I deliver it the way she needs to hear it? And so it's a refinement process, but I am extremely grateful for the wife that I have, who has been nothing but a support for me, has been nothing but my peace, has been nothing but, kind of keep me grounded when I'm so focused on the goal. She keeps me grounded, to keeping God first, to relax sometimes, because I'm always on a mission, and I'm going to lead this family the right way. But I'm thankful that, my wife is the balance. She's not another version of me. She's an opposite version of me that balances out me. I think something to highlight up here is that there is half bathroom in the master bedroom.
Okay.
And so we gonna turn it to a full bathroom.
Wow, look at this. I love it. I know you probably demo this, but
actually not.
okay.
Yep.
Nice.
Nah, we're not gonna demo it. Because in today's society, right, most people work from home.
Yeah.
So why demo a space that could be someone's potential office, a potential daycare, right? I think this space, it does count as a bedroom because we got a closet.
Yep.
So this is a part of the 4 bedrooms, but this space could be utilized for an office space, a pantry. It can use it for multiple things. And so we're gonna keep these. These shelves are good, nice and sturdy. there may be most people that are buying properties at that 300 range are astute individuals, right? Which means they may be avid readers. This works for them.
Absolutely.
You good, sweetheart?
So I'm assuming that this has hardwood floors underneath.
Yes, it does. So we're gonna take all this carpet, refinish all the hardwood floors, give it a nice facelift. This is the half bathroom right here. So this master bedroom, has a half bathroom, which works. But what looks better?
Full.
A full.
Absolutely.
Right? If I want to take a shower, I don't want to have to go to the same, bathroom as my kids. I got my own private shower. I got my own private things. Kids got their bathroom or guests got their bathroom. I got my own bathroom. And we see that usually does really, really well when you have multiple full bathrooms where either the kids have their own bathroom or an older child has their own bathroom and the parents have their own bathroom.
Converting a half bath to a full bath, is that something that you need to get a permit for?
You should be getting permits when doing construction, right? Because permits actually protect the owner. Because when you get permits, the inspector comes out and inspects the work to basically verify that the contractor did the work right. So you should be getting permits, right? We should be getting the permits when you're doing jobs like this. But in this case, all the plumbing is right where it's gonna be at, right? Well, only thing that we're doing is turning this closet. We're tearing out this wall and extending the bathroom and using the same plumbing line that toilet is on to build a shower. So we probably will get that inspected, the new shower. But all of the stuff that's right there will already still be right there when we're done with the project.
Perfect. Are you keeping this golden carpet?
This funkadelic carpet? Nah, man, it's gotta go.
On this property, what would you guesstimate to be the biggest cost?
Kitchen. There's some exterior stuff that's gonna be costly between the exterior items and the kitchen, right? We got a roof and we got windows. That'll probably be more than the kitchen. So I would probably say the exterior items are the most costly things, the windows and the roof together.
So actually let's maybe just kind of talk to us about maybe the hallway bath, but then I'm gonna throw a couple of more questions.
Okay. So this is the only current full bathroom we got right now.
Okay.
Right. We got that peach Detroit style bathroom. This is legendary right here, right?
Legendary.
This stuff don't deteriorate. This stuff, every time I see a bathroom that is 100 years old, this stuff is always in good shape.
Survive a nuclear fallout.
That part.
It doesn't necessarily sound like you buy and rent. It sounds like you have more of a strategy to fix and flip. Why not? Why don't you want to be a landlord?
Okay, great question. I am a landlord, right? I am a landlord. The vision is to hold as many assets as I can, right? I'm always looking to buy and hold for as long as I can, right? I'm thinking, you're right, God put it on my heart, and he also says this in the scripture, we should leave enough for 7 generations. And so I'm always thinking about what am I giving my legacy along with the information and knowledge. So that is the goal. That's the first goal. But, right, you find these, really good opportunities to be able to make a lot of money in a short period of time. And if that's the strategy, if you have an opportunity to, 10x or 20x your investment, then that's an opportunity for me to sell, reposition that capital into maybe a larger multifamily unit, which then will create some cash flow income. And so for me, I'm always thinking about how do I got this active income and I got this passive income. My active income is always going to be contributing to my passive income. So the things I make in my fix and flips, my active income, I'm going to reposition that, pay down some debt, and buy passive assets that will then cash flow, and I don't have to really worry about it as much. I can put those on autopilot. But with this style of home, a 4-bedroom, it's for a family that, right, the wife or husband probably works from home. They probably have some children. They have 1 or 2 children. right? And they're looking to upgrade. I wouldn't call this a starter home, right? I would call this probably a second home where somebody is looking to upgrade their lifestyle, get something newer, fresher, looking for a new start. And right, they need enough space to make it functional, but also like enough space so where everybody can be able to get win-win. Like the children have their own space. The basement will be finished as well too. So now, right, most men, when we see a finished basement, that we already got our eyes like that. This is the man cave. I don't want to hear it. This is my spot. We go right. And so I'm mindful that if this is a family that's going to be living in this home, that I have things that benefit everybody that's going to be a part of the family, from the kids to the wife to the husband.
I've started my career on the single family fix and flip.
Yep.
And eventually got into the commercial realm. But I probably made more money on the single family side.
Yes.
And I also run across a number of other investors that are in that scenario where they're asking me about how to get into the commercial realm, but yet they're doing pretty well on the single family fix.
That's true.
Do you have ambitions to potentially go bigger? And or is this a niche of yours that you're comfortable being in because you know it so well, and why try to fix something that's not broke?
Got you. Great question. I'm constantly thinking about this as, along my journey and evolving my thinking. Where I'm at today, I'm always constantly looking for opportunities. And so it could be a single family home in Detroit. It could be a single family home in Southfield. It could be a single family home downriver. It can be a multi-family downriver, right? Right now I'm building a balance sheet and creating wins so that when I do development, when I do larger projects that don't, right? I believe this. The real estate investing side of the business, you're able to reap the benefits faster. It's all beneficial, but you reap the benefits faster the way the deals are structured in real estate investing. Now, development up front, it's gonna feel like you making pennies compared to what you made, right? I get it. We all get it. But over the longevity of that thing, 10, 20 years from now, markets shift, prices go up, right? Cash flow increase. You'll be able to benefit from that. But not only just you, when you pass this thing along after 30 years and your children are old enough to be able to reap the benefits, they'll be instant millionaires just off the work you did, right? So unless you have a large portfolio, right, one deal won't create a millionaire for a child. But that development project that you're working on right now, 20 years from now, that's gonna be worth millions, and then your children and your legacy gonna be able to reap the benefits of that.
Lord willing. You weren't always in real estate.
Yeah.
Talk to me about how you transitioned from a career in engineering to real estate. How did your engineering background influence your approach to property rehab?
Okay. Anybody that has, put a lot of sweat and time and effort into anything, you understand what it takes to be from good to great. And that's what engineering taught me. Engineering taught me how to be great. It taught me how to put in 12-hour days of just studying to be able to make the dean's list. It taught me critical thinking skills. It taught me problem solving skills. No matter the industry you go in, right, there are fundamentals across every industry which are problems. You're gonna always have a problem, right? But how is your thinking to solve that problem? So now that I got this problem solving mind, I look at everything with the engineering mind. I no longer do engineering. Now I'm in finance. Now I'm in private equity. Now I'm advocating for developers like yourself to get money and scale their firms. And now not only are we doing this locally, we're about to take this thing nationally. So there'll be new problems. There's problems that I had to solve here that will be completely different, in other markets. And that's what engineering has done for me. Engineering has gave me a work ethic and it also gave me a methodology of how to solve problems.
Your involvement with organizations like BCV and READ has been a cornerstone, it sounds like, of your growth. Or one of the cornerstones. What advice do you have for newcomers seeking mentorship in this industry, specifically, here in Detroit, which is still a tough market? Even though we can get in, the barrier to entry is lower than in other markets. What advice do you give newcomers?
This is what I constantly hear across many conversations from individuals that are way more experienced than me. And they always say, if you can make it in Detroit, then you can make it anywhere. We're doing deals that most individuals across the country wouldn't think to do. Our capital stacks are more complicated than anything you've ever seen. So if you can do it here, then you can do it anywhere. And so my recommendation for those of people that are, looking for mentorship or considering mentorship or trying to figure out a path to mentorship, first thing you gotta do is make up your mind that you need mentoring, that you don't know everything. And that in order to speed up your trajectory and your timeline to get closer to your goals, you're gonna need assistance from somebody that has done it before you, right? Because why go try to figure this thing out the hard way when I can just go ask Ed for the answers to the test? He took the test already. And then, when you're identifying mentorship, or when you're identifying a person to be your mentor, I would say look for fruit first.
Okay.
And when I mean fruit is, what fruit do they bear? What results have they had in whatever industry they're in? How is their character? How do they treat people? What are their ethics like? What is their work ethic like? I align myself with individuals that I want to emulate. So if you're a great developer, I'm gonna go hang out with you. If you're a great speaker and I want to work on my speaking and communication style, I'm gonna go hang out with you. Because the longer I hang around these people, the more I pick up.
You work on multi-million-dollar projects in your 9 to 5. Is that safe to say?
That's safe to say.
While your 5 to 9, you focus more on your single family, your portfolio, affordable properties. How do you balance these different types of investments, and what challenges do you kind of face internally along the way?
Got you. And then I got a wife.
And you got a wife.
And I got a wife, right? I got a family to take care of.
Into that.
So for context, I work for a startup firm that does real estate development. We got 3 different things we do at the company. And this is a great question to follow into the mentorship question, right? Because we do advisory consulting, investment platform, and then we also do real estate development ourselves. And most people can't submit their lives to a mission to be able to learn something to then excel. That's exactly what I did, right? I went to go work for a startup firm that could give me the level of insight and experience, something different than what I've already learned in engineering. I had to start from the bottom, and I went to go work for a startup firm and worked my way up with knowledge, insight, and wisdom to be able to gain skills that I could then apply, in my own endeavors. So this is the best mentorship. The best mentorship that I would recommend is to go get mentorship where you can be a part of someone else's mission and serve and help them. And then if you can get paid to do it,
even better.
That's even better.
Absolutely.
Right? But you're in a peculiar spot that most people can't see. Because you're inundated with all the projects. You get to see how things are built, see how things are broken. You get to see somebody else makes mistakes on their dime. And you're a part of the mission. You help them push the ball forward, right? And so if you can find a scenario where you're a part of someone else's journey to serve them for a couple of years, to understand how things work, so that you don't make the same mistakes and you go out and have success, I think that's super beneficial for anybody that's looking for mentorship, right? Go work for somebody. Now, thinking about timing and prioritizing, it's a constant balance. It's a constant balancing of, right? In balancing and prioritizing and scheduling. You got to constantly do that every week. I'm constantly rebalancing my schedule. I'm constantly reprioritizing things, and I'm constantly understanding what needs to get done. And you have to have a level of discipline and a level of focus, because your time is more important than anything. You don't have much downtime when you have many obligations, and you can't let none of them go to the wayside. You got to be excellent in all of them. Right? Because if you're not excellent in your 9 to 5, then you lose the 9 to 5. You lose the one business partner that was paying you every month to help you go do the things that you wanted to do, to invest in real estate, to buy properties.
Yep, absolutely.
Right? If you're not excellent in the real estate, you lose money because you're not focused on the deals getting done. If you're not excellent with your spouse, now y'all separate. Now the relationship isn't. So you have to constantly prioritize. I'm constantly prioritizing. I'm constantly having conversation with my wife. I'm constantly moving things around and prioritizing them according to what needs to get done right now. And I'm gonna be honest with y'all. Do I have some long nights? Absolutely. Do I have some long nights and early mornings? Absolutely. Right? Because I'm at the inflection point in my life where momentum matters. Right? I need to be doing as much as I can right now in my younger years, so that in my later years I've already built this legacy and this empire that runs itself. But you don't do that. You don't do that by happenstance. You don't fall into an empire just because you thought about it and you wanted to know. You work your butt off for it. And then eventually you look up and you look at all the things you built, and they start working for you. And then you start hiring people and you start delegating. But for me right now, and then the most important thing is you got to say no to the things that don't align.
Very important.
Right? Like, saying no is like, you got to be okay with saying, I can't make it today.
No, period. No explanation.
I can't go hang out with y'all, right?
Right.
I can't go to the function this time, right? Because it doesn't align. And you got to be okay with people feeling however they're going to want to feel. But at the end of the day, when it comes down to it, you got to take care of you and yours. Because when you stressed out and trying to figure out how to pay them bills, yeah, you can talk to them, but are they going to be able to support you? Are they going to be able to help pay that light bill, that phone bill, your kids' daycare? For the most part, they're not. And so I'm always mindful of what I give my time to. Always mindful, right? Do I prioritize family and do I prioritize friends? Absolutely. But they understand you can't call Darius on a whim and think that I'm a show up. You got to call me 2 weeks in advance. Hey, I just want to let you know, bro, 2 weeks we going to all hang out. Cool, I got it on my calendar. Because I've prioritized time for that during that day. And I think that if you do that, you know, if you put your goals first, put your family first, put your mission first put God first and let all that come into that, things will get easier.
100%.
Things will get easier.
Your YouTube channel actually gives viewers, including myself, you know, I'm a subscriber, big fan of it, a true inside look at your rehab projects.
Yep.
And you talk strategies, you mix in a little bit of word. In today's digital age, how important is transparency and community engagement through platforms like YouTube for real estate investment and development? Super
important. Right? And so if you've never seen anybody do real estate, or you didn't know that exists, do you think you would be a developer?
Great question. Probably not.
Because you wouldn't know. There's things we don't know today. We have no idea of how certain industries are around certain things, and that's because we're not exposed to it.
Right.
And so I'm a huge believer of exposing people to the things that you're involved in, for various of reasons. One of them is that you're inspiring the next generation. The thing that got me inspired is that I saw what success looked like on somebody else because I didn't have a network of successful people growing up. So I couldn't identify with it. Right. I thought it was a far-fetched thing that only a select few people could achieve. But when I met someone that come from a similar background, from a similar lifestyle, amassed a level of success that I only thought that certain individuals could have, that changed my perspective. That changed my belief system. That's the start of it, right? That's a part of faith, believing that the thing will work out. So now that I've seen people have success, now that I've seen people be successful developers, successful investors, run successful funds. At this point, you can't tell me I can't do anything. And so I think you should be transparent in the things that you're working on. I think you should constantly communicate whatever it is that you're doing and giving insight and inspiration. And also, that's good for your business as well, too. There's plenty of deals and partners and investors that I've met because I just put out content. Just because I put out content, right? There's relationships that I was building that I didn't even know I was building. I was meeting people for the first time that was partnering with me on transactions, and they were already bought in before I could even finish the pitch, only because of what I put out to the world.
Yeah. I've been able to experience that too. Sharing our journey really does open up doors that we don't even realize are open until we come to the threshold, and they're like, "Oh, come on in.
Come on in."
I don't have no sales pitch needed. Oh no, we already seen it online.
Yep.
We trust you on that.
Yep. Because your character is important, and that's how people. That's people's first interaction with you, right? Online, and they're judging you on your character, how you carry yourself, how you communicate, and that's the one thing you can't get back. Right. Bad reputation. Yep. You got to make sure you are constantly putting out the right messaging because somebody will find you. I think that's Dennis' house, the demo contractor.
All right, so where can we find you?
Y'all can find me on all social media platforms at Darius D. Barrett. That is my full name. Please follow me. Please subscribe. I would love to engage with you. Send me a direct message and let me know what you're working on. Let me know what you need help on. I'm an advocate for constantly pouring into individuals because I want people to get the same level of success I had in my life. So reach out. I just wanted to communicate to people what God has done for me, right? I'm someone that wasn't always a strong believer as I am today. I didn't always put God first. I put myself first. I thought I was the man of the house. I thought that everything that I was achieving was because of me. And I was absolutely wrong. I can admit that. God has been with me for a very long time, even when I didn't acknowledge him. And God has given me grace, and God has given me mercy to come back home. And we have rejoiced since I've been back home. And I've been obedient since I come back home. So I just want to implore people to, right, build a strong relationship with God. Not this fluffy, not this surface level stuff, not this, I say I believe but won't be obedient and won't follow the laws and the commandments of what God has called us to do. I'm going to go do my own thing, but I still believe. That's not a true belief. And I think there's consequences to that. And so I think that God has given us, communion, a community. And so if you need help and you having a challenge with building your relationship with God, definitely reach out to me. Let's start there, because what God will solve all of those problems, all of that anxiety, all of that depression, all the things you're going through right now and you don't have a solution for it. Try God. That's what I'm going to say. Because what you thought was going to work, it's not working. And I know it's not working because I tried it, right? The suicidal thoughts and the medication that you're on, right? Get off of it and try God for one chance. And when I say try God, I'm not saying, act like, I'm going to pray when I feel like praying. Or, I'm going to be obedient when I feel like being obedient. No, do it even when it hurts. Do it even when you don't feel like it. Because that's where you start to be, that's where correction comes in at. That's when you start to be refined. That's when you renew your mind. And that's when you renew your heart. And that's the fundamental things of changing and becoming a new version of you. You got to renew your heart and renew your mind. And you can't do it in these worldly things and these tangible things and these cars and these people and these spouses. You got to do that through Christ. Give your heart to Christ and watch what he do. And whoever watching this, like, just try it. And you ain't even got to tell me you trying it, but just try it and watch what he do. And reach out to me and let me know what he did for you.